Hello, everyone. Let me just open the chat room and get everyone going here. Hello. Okay, let me see here. Chat. Hi. Hi, everyone. Dr. Laura Foster here. Let me just take a couple minutes to open everything up and get going, and then I'll properly introduce myself, although I'm sure you're more, you've been watching me for a few weeks and almost sick of it. No sound. Hi, can everyone else hear me? Just let me know. Okay, so one person just said they can't hear me. So let me see here. Everyone else can hear me. This always happens, doesn't it? Okay, well, I'm going to start, and then I'm going to give you some webinar basics, and then we're going to go ahead and get going. I see everybody coming on here now. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, she had me on mute. There's always something that's going on when you start a webinar. All right, so everybody, my name is Dr. Laura Foster, and this is your first day of the 40-day online sugar detox. I have to tell you, I get so excited. The first part of the first day always is so busy because I'm trying to onboard everyone and just get it so that it's so easy for you to start the beginning phases of this program. I want to really orient you tonight and just feel like you have solid feet under you for the beginning of this program. So hold on a second, I just need to get you out of here. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so first of all, welcome. This is going to be a fun 40 days. This is one of my favorite programs that I run. I feel like we've been running it so many times that I just have a better sense of how to properly bring you through the program. And as you know, we have so many repeat detoxers in the program this time, which we actually always do. So I want to say hello to all the new detoxers. I know some of you are feeling either overwhelmed or underwhelmed or somewhere in between, and I want you to know that that is completely natural at this point. So I'm going to give you some strategies on that. And for all my repeat detoxers that are here, welcome back. I couldn't be more thrilled to have you here. When new detoxers ask me all the time, they're like, why are there so many repeat detoxers? If this is a 40-day online sugar detox and you teach everybody how to make this a lifestyle, why do people keep coming back? Okay, that's a great question, and I can understand why you ask that. I think really just getting feedback from past detoxers is, I think it's a leveraging process. That you can come into the program, you start frankly wherever you are, you take in as much information as you can assimilate within the program, and you keep going from there. And each time someone comes back to the detox, they get to build on the knowledge that they've already heard and things that they've already learned. And it just keeps deepening and deepening and deepening. I also think that this lifestyle is frankly a process. And I base this detox off of my lifestyle, off of things that I've learned being a chiropractor for over 20 years, and just really my knowledge base in nutrition, what I've known to be true for myself, for having a busy family, for having children, what I've learned from just coaching and working with my practice members over time, and my own education process. So this is really a culmination of my experience, and it started off initially as just a way for me to work with practice members, quite simply. I had been doing workshops in our practice for years and years and years. One part of the things that we teach about, of course, is how to properly fuel yourself and hydrate yourself. How do you nourish yourself so that you promote healing and basic proper physiology in your body? Because even though there's lots of different diets and things that are out there, there are basics, fundamental basics, which we're going to be talking about a lot in this program, that are just true across the board. And these are things that I wanted to impart to our practice members. So it started as 60-minute workshops, and then it became, 120-minute workshops, and then it became, a program. And It started as a 30-day program. I only offered it to practice members, and it wasn't long before I recognized that there was great value. And I saw not only people having great success with this program, as a sugar detox, but also as a platform for them to make sustainable changes with the rest of their life as a clean eating, low sugar lifestyle. I decided that we wanted to kind of deepen it further, and hence it became the 40-day online sugar detox. And this has been going on now. This is our 3rd year that we've been here, or just beginning our 3rd year, I believe. And we're just getting started. So as we go through this tonight, this is what I have on the agenda. I want to walk you through the process of what we're really kind of doing in the next 40 days beyond just detoxing sugar. I want to cover some very frequently asked questions. I want to give you some quick start strategies, and I want to talk about sugar withdrawal. If it happens to you, I want to give you some really strong things that you can do and ways to prevent it in the first place. So that's what tonight is. And what I have to always pull myself from doing in this first video is to tell you absolutely everything I can. One is, it's 8 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. I do not want you to feel overwhelmed and up beyond an hour. So I want to make sure that I give you as much as I can. First things first, webinar rules. So I impart information to you in multiple ways during this 40 days. And one of them is that I will often do live webinars. Now, this is the hashtag technical issues. This happens from time to time. I have done my very best to, hardwire my system and do things to prevent there being technical issues. But sometimes that just exists. It's either going to be on my end or it's going to be on your end. If I have a technical issue, if all of a sudden you don't see me anymore because I've dropped, I will come back in and come back in. If you want to know an update of what's going on, I'll update the private Facebook page. I've really never had a major issue like that, but if there is, I'll hop on over and I'll probably do it as a Facebook Live, okay? There's only a handful of you who are not on Facebook, but at least I can do it there. I can upload it, and then I can still disseminate it to everybody else. Now, if you have an issue, first thing I would say is I recommend that you run Zoom on either a browsing window such as Chrome or Firefox. Works better than Safari and some of the others. Make sure that you're closing out all of your other browsing windows. Just a smart thing to do every single time you want to come into a webinar is to restart your computer. Sometimes the background program has grabbed your microphone, or you can't hear me, or something like that. If that's the case and you've done all those things, hop out of the chat room and then come back into the webinar and see if that improves. If you're getting frustrated, push it back for the night. Don't worry about it. You'll get the replay in the morning, the next day, and you can just carry on, okay? This is not something that you need to be frustrated with. You will get the replays in the emails every single week. I'll always usually post them, the replays, on the Facebook page as well, so you can't help but see them. And I will always encourage you, if you're watching a video or a replay, you don't have to just always sit there and stare at us. It's something that you can listen to. So if you want to download it and listen to it while you're commuting or while you're doing something else, I highly recommend that. Otherwise, this can be a lot of time. My favorite, though, is when you're on here live with me, and then you can ask me questions. I will always do my best to answer them. If I can't answer them in the moment, then of course I will come back to them. After I close out the page, I always go on over to Facebook for a few minutes, just in case there's something that you want to talk about. Okay, so those are the webinar rules. Hashtag being human, that's for sure. Okay, let's talk about an overview of the program. So what I've become very clear on in this program is it is a very big education program. So you will be learning a lot, and you can kind of take it as far or as near as you want to, or as little as much as you want. It really depends on what your motivation is for taking this, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you as much background information as I can. I will do it in various ways. The first one is this. So this is the printed detox guide. Most of you already have it because you live in the vicinity or close enough that you were able to come pick it up. And if you didn't pick it up, it's because I'm sending it to you. Most people should have it already, and if not, it should be there within the next day or so. If you don't see it by tomorrow or the next day, please reach out to me and just make sure it's well on its way and I can track it. Now, that's the education process through all these webinars and the wiki emails and so on, there is a ton of action. I say that action beats perfection any day of the week. So today, what I was asking people to do if you're on the Facebook page is just start anywhere, okay? Just get your feet wet. Just start reading the guide, becoming conscious of some of the information, you know, really becoming familiar. Hold on a sec, I'm leaving, there's no point. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, one person can't hear, that happens. So the biggest thing would be, pardon me, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just gonna start again. All right, that's just how it goes. Okay, so overview. Education, lots of action. Oh, right, I'm gonna say, stepping forward in this program is going to make you have progress. So it's not about being perfect in this program, it is simply about making progress. It is 40 days for a reason. I do not expect you to be there today. You're not nailing the program today. It may look like some people are nailing the program, but those are probably people who have been repeat detoxers. If you're just coming into this program today, start where you are, okay? And I'm gonna give you some information about that. Mindset and heart set are a big part of the information that I'm going to be giving you. I think that a lot of times when we approach something like this, which can feel very, very overwhelming, it's easy to get overwhelmed. And then we start to get really hard on ourselves when we aren't perfect, or we don't nail every day, or we have a time when we're unprepared, or we didn't know it was coming, or we, you know, didn't prep or whatnot. Listen, that happens. And so a lot of the mindset information and the days that we work on that, those are the things I really want you to take to heart. I think it's having the right mindset and heart set with yourself, and really having a forgiving personality around approaching this program can really give you a lot more success and will set you up for taking these strategies into your lifestyle thereafter, okay? So I guarantee, these are your words, not mine, that you will feel sometimes like you're failing. You'll have days that feel like that, and that's really natural in this program. So when you have a day where you're frustrated and you weren't prepped and you weren't prepared, I would just say, the next time you have the opportunity to eat something or drink something, just try and make a better choice, and be just really aware and conscious to where you think you fall off at times, and reach out to me. I want no one, and I mean no one, and I mean this with every fiber of my being, I don't want anyone to feel like they're falling off the back end of the program and nobody's noticing, right? I try and keep my finger on the pulse. Some of you will be more active on the Facebook page than others, but I really need you to reach out to me if you feel like you're having a hard time putting the pieces together, okay? These first 10 days are really about the actual detoxing. This is the part where we're recognizing that sugar has a very addictive quality in the body. It really does hardwire in at the level of the brain to create a level of addiction, and we don't even recognize it at times. If you've watched any of my videos coming up to this point, and if you haven't, I encourage you to go back and watch some of them. I really talk about the actual physiologic action that happens at the level of the brain when we consume sugar. And given the statistics and how much sugar most of us on average are consuming, we probably are a little more addicted to sugar than we realize. I don't say that to scare you. I say that to acknowledge that when we are coming off sugar, or we're slowly reducing the amount of sugar that we have in our diet, sugar withdrawal is very, very real. These first 10 days, and for some people, it'll be a breeze. And for other people, it'll feel a little bumpy. I'm gonna give you as many strategies as I can, but think of these first 10 days as being the actual detox part. Then the next, in amongst those days, so for the first 21 days of the program, this is the part where we're gonna be really true to the program, true to the parameters of the program to the best of our ability. And this is where we start to entrain and create strong habits and rituals that help you sustain and create a low sugar, whole food lifestyle. So that's the work of the program. It's where it starts to become habitual for you. I will give you as many strategies and shortcuts as I can. The last 10 days of the program, so that gets us through really for the first 30 days. And then the last 10 days of the program, I start to flip the switch. We start talking about some of the things that we did not consume in the program. And we start talking about, you know, what are the benefits and the risk or the potential negatives of putting things like grains back into your lifestyle, or what, you know, what's a low sugar alcohol if you choose to have alcohol in your lifestyle, or how much fruit is too much, or what do I need to consider? We're going to review all those different things and remind you as to what physiologically they're doing in your body. And then you start to be able to curate what you want your your low sugar lifestyle to actually look like. Okay, so first 30 days, we're working the program. Last 10 days, we're talking about the future. Okay, so that's kind of how I work with it. And you'll see that, you know, sometimes we'll do small deviations, but that's the basic overview. So in terms of this and everything that is in here, I would say that I'm definitely not going to read this all to you. The majority of this actual detox guide is actually recipes. Now, you don't need to follow recipes, because once you understand the parameters of the detox, you can cook in whatever way you want. The reason the recipes are there is to give you a starting point, a place to come back to if you're not sure. It's to give you ideas. And if you love recipes, fantastic. If you overwhelm yourself with recipes, right? If you just like, hey, I'm going to do 3 recipes tomorrow and 5 the next day and 6 the next day, you will probably find it quite difficult. So I would say, as you start to learn how to meal plan and forward think your way through the program, pick and choose a few here and there. The biggest thing that I would say is the thing I want you to become the most familiar with is on page 22, 23, and 24. These are the guidelines for detox-friendly foods. Now, what I would say here is these are all the foods that you can consume, almost all in abundance. Okay, so it may feel at times like there's a lot of things that you can't consume. And I'm going to tell you, I'm never going to tell you you can't consume something. Number one, you decide how you want this detox to fit your lifestyle. There's zero judgment from me, and I mean zero. And even if something has sugar in it, this is not a no sugar lifestyle. This is a low sugar lifestyle. So I will give you the targets that you should be pointing towards, and you get to figure out how that fits in a day. I'm going to make some recommendations based on what I have known from my experience to be helpful. So the first thing is you can eat any vegetable on the planet, and I mean any vegetable on the planet. And I think a lot of us are eating this many vegetables when there's this many vegetables. If you walk through the grocery store next time you're in there and look with a different set of eyes, instead of going for the same 5 vegetables, which a lot of us do, are there vegetables that you haven't eaten before? You know, bok choy or zucchini, a spiralizer with your zucchini, or, you know, whatever it is. If there are things that you've avoided, Swiss chard or kale or whatever it is, can you start to integrate more of those? You know, that's the biggest thing, is because when we eat a very small diet and we don't eat very many vegetables, we start to think that vegetables really aren't that tasty. But the reality is there are so many vegetables that none of us are eating. There are only 2 vegetables that I ask you not to consume in this program. And one is corn and one is white potatoes. The reason being is there's a lot of naturally occurring sugar in these vegetables. The other is we eat too many of them. Right? Even if we don't think we eat corn on the cob, the reality is that corn is used in so many different products and we don't even recognize it. And most of corn is actually genetically modified, so also not a great thing for your body. Someone just asked me about beets. There was a time when I had requested that we keep beets out of our diet, but the reality is there's so many positives to beets. And here's the thing, I don't know anyone who's addicted to beets like they're addicted to corn and white potatoes. So I think it's net positive to have beets in this program, and you certainly don't need to be counting. The reason why we sent you another link is because we noticed that we contradicted ourselves in the first digital link that went out. We had missed one of our edits, and it said in the detox friendly foods that you could have it, but it said in the narrative that you can't have beets. So here's the point. Beets are fine. Long live the beet. All right, so just want to clear that up. Now, the other thing, this is a grain-free program. My recommendation is to stick to this. I think if there's anything that creates some of the most powerful change in people's clean eating, low sugar, whole food lifestyle, it's learning how to eat without so many grains. Now, I promise you, if you read the detox guide, we talk a little bit about the issues physiologically with grains, the reason that we're avoiding it. I talk about it in a lot of the videos. I also have a guest expert that I interviewed earlier on this summer that I am sending out to you in a video that you will receive. But for now, I just want to tell you that it is a grain-free, and yes, that means everything from rice to quinoa, you name it, pastas, oats, all of those things are grains, okay? Your brain is going to be super happy that you weren't eating grains in this program, and you're also going to find all different ways to nourish yourself, because when we have grains in our diets, we always come back to them. They become such a common part of our actual way that we fuel ourselves. So the reason why we don't have grains just on a low level is because either they have too much sugar in them, or maybe they don't have sugar listed on the actual nutrition fact label, but they have high glycemic index, which means they break down into sugar very rapidly and have a high sugar effect in the body. Okay, that's the biggest thing. And also, I've noticed that when people have a lot of grains in their diet, it keeps wiring that addiction to the sugar. And that's the thing you want to drop. Because when you start to drop sugar down into your diet and you start to get at the 40 grams or below, now all of a sudden you're not going to be jonesing for it. Your body is not going to be looking for the next sugar fix. You're not getting that drop of serotonin and dopamine. That sugar will affect on your body. And now when you start to have something that's sweet, all of a sudden you're going to taste the sweetness. The things that weren't sweet are going to taste sweet. And this is a benefit, of course, because as you go forward into a lifestyle with this, you're going to find that you're not craving sugar or even wanting sugar around the things that you once did. Okay, so positive on that. Also, there's lectins in grains. We're going to talk more about that in the future, okay? This program is also dairy-free, minus a few exemptions. Now, here's the thing. Again, we do not have dairy for the most part in this program because dairy is very inflammatory. It's very mucus forming, and there's lots and lots of sugar actually in dairy. That's what lactose is. I believe a cup of milk rather, is 12 grams of sugar. There are a few things. Number one, I just want to clarify people because I get this question asked often. Eggs are not dairy. So you can have eggs in this program if you're fine with eggs. If you already know that you have a sensitivity to dairy, then I would say just drop it out of the program, okay? Give yourself at least 30 days where you're not having dairy. Now, there's a few things you see throughout the program. One is butter. Yes, butter is dairy. I know that. And you don't need to use it. There are all sorts of alternative oils that you can be using and fats that are healthy. Grass-fed butter is something that comes up here and there in the program. And if you're good with that, fantastic. If you're not, keep it out. There's lots of substitutions. I have no problem with that. The other thing that we say, if you're okay with dairy, a little bit of raw Parmesan, goat or sheep cheese is often very well tolerated by a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of positives to it. I find that goat cheese and sheep cheese, you don't have to use very much to create a lot of really delicious taste and benefit. So if you're good with it, that's great. Now, ghee is something, if you've never used, I highly recommend. It is clarified butter where the milk proteins have been strained off the top of it. It is fantastic for frying. It can tolerate high heat extremely well and gives a ton of flavor. Most people who are dairy intolerant can have no problem with ghee, but again, that's just an option for you, okay? So it's a dairy-free program. If you're good with a few minor exceptions, then you can go ahead with that. It is also, we are also allowing lentils and legumes in the program. That was something that we also shifted up. It goes back to the clean eating and the education and philosophy around lectins. But if you're new to the program or if you're returning detoxer, I want you to know, yes, absolutely. Unless you are sensitive to lentils and legumes, by all means, we've added them in the program, and you'll see that update where the detox friendly guide is on page 22 through 24. And there are a number of recipes in the detox guide which are actually based on lentils and beans and so on, including hummus and roasted chickpeas and all sorts of things. So there you go. So in terms of, oh, somebody just asked me to clarify raw Parmesan. So unpasteurized cheeses are often better tolerated by the body than pasteurized. It's kind of like anything else. If you high heat it, then of course you kill the enzymes and a lot of the vital nutrients. but raw parm, because it's an unpasteurized, and I'm not talking about the craft jar one, I'm just talking about fresh blocks of raw Parmesan. You could do Parmesan in general. I would say if you have the luxury of it and you can source it, that I would recommend parm. All right, does that answer your question? Alrighty then, hopefully. Okay, so lentils, legumes, soy, absolutely. This also means we have a number of vegetarians that are in this program. A few of you have already reached out to me. Can you please just send me a message and let me know what you mean by you are vegetarian? So are you vegan? Do you have some flexible foods in your diet? Just so that I can help you make sure that you're getting enough of the right menu items and so on. And if you need help with that, I want you to reach out to me. But I definitely recommend that, you know, even though we have animal protein in this program, I have zero issue, and I highly encourage you to also do a number of vegetarian selections. There's lots and lots of vegetables and fresh fruit in this program, and these legumes and lentils will be a big positive addition to it. If you're having soy, I would recommend that you stick more towards like the non-GMO and organic varieties, but otherwise everything else is great. Fruit. Again, you will see all of this in the detox. I just want to highlight it. We absolutely allow fruit in this program. The reason why we go through the chart and we tell you about, you know, raspberries that are 4 grams of sugar per cup versus mangoes, which are, you know, 20 or something like that. The reason we tell you that is because there are no forbiddens. It has more to do with the sugar load on your body in any given day. So that's why I really need you to track your sugar grams and become conscious of how much sugar is and everything, and fruit falls under that. If most people don't eat too much fruit, but there are definitely people who unknowingly put a tremendous amount of fruit, whether it's through fruit or fruit juice, in their diet, and it is blowing the sugar load in your system and is causing, you know, surges of insulin, high blood sugar. It's those kind of highs and lows of our blood sugar are not good for our body, especially our brain, and our body doesn't function well with it. So it's important to know what your overall sugar load is. So fruit, not an issue. And I wanted to make you conscious as to what are low sugar fruits and what are high sugar fruits. All right, so you can take a look at the chart that's in there. Google can also be your best friend. That's what I did, but we put them together in the detox guide so you can become familiar with that. Now, I would say a definite no to fruit juice. So fresh vegetable juice that has a little bit of fruit juice in it, that's unpasteurized, that's freshly done, absolutely. And vegetable juice in general, fantastic. But most people love to have a cup of juice, right? So something that's either, you know, apples or oranges or grapefruit or whatnot. And even if it's fresh, it has massive amounts of sugar. You know, a cup of orange juice or so on can be over 50 grams of sugar, and you are shooting for 40 grams or less. So do yourself a favor. If you want the taste of fruit, actually eat the piece of fruit. You know, that way you get to enjoy not only any vitamins or minerals in it, but you're also getting the benefit of the fiber in there, which is much better for stabilizing your blood sugar, okay? So you will never ever hear me in the detox or outside of this ever to recommend fruit juice. It's not net positive for most people, okay? Hope that is clarifying for a lot of people. Okay, also animal protein, really mostly for the most part, any and all. When you are starting to source your animal protein, I always recommend that you think about the way animals should be raised, meaning try and consume animal proteins where the animals were raised on the diet in which they were intended. In other words, cows are supposed to eat grass. It's the way their physiology is set up. And when they eat grass, they actually digest it properly and it works properly within their body. If they eat grains, which is they're not actually set up physiologically to consume that much of, it creates a tremendous amount of inflammation in their bodies. There is a totally different fat ratio in grass-fed beef, for example, to grain-fed beef. The number of anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids in grass-fed beef is much, much, much higher than it is in grain-fed. And those are the ones that you want to have in higher abundance. Conversely, and if this is new to you, don't worry about it. We talk about it in the detox guide. It'll come up again. Omega-6 fatty acids are essential, but they're also inflammatory producing, and we already get more than enough of them. So when we eat, for example, beef that have been raised on grain, they have very, very high levels of the inflammatory essential fatty acids. When they have that and we consume it, we have that. So over the course of the program, and when you're looking at where you want to spend your money, it can be top heavy, expensive, or more expensive at the beginning of the program because you're recognizing you don't have a lot of the right foods. So you're trying to buy some of this and trying to buy some of that, and you're sourcing this here and you're sourcing this there. It can become overwhelming and frankly expensive. So if that's the case, if you have lots and lots of things that are low sugar that you need to buy, then for now, don't worry about whether it's grass-fed or anything else. Just buy the best sourcing of meat that you can that fits in your budget right now. And later on, as you start to up-level yourself, you can start to slot things in as you start to source them in your local area and find places that are cheaper. Now, someone just asked me about where do I recommend it. I am going to actually send out a whole bunch of stuff around this. This is my Costco list. These are all the things that are totally make up this detox that I know you can source in Canada and the United States. I'm also putting together some of my favorite online places. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in probably the email later on this week. So I'm not going to leave you high and dry on that, but not everybody lives in this area. So I don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time on that tonight, but I will get back to you. So thank you, Nancy, for that. So the animal protein, just some general recommendations. When you can, buy wild fish over farmed fish. Oftentimes, sustainably caught fish is actually farmed fish. So just be aware of that. Fish need to eat normal things. They don't need to eat pellets. Chicken, ideally pasture raised. Chickens are foragers. So insects and seeds and things that they find in the wild, that's what their physiology is best fed, not vegetarian, grain fed, that kind of stuff. Beef, go back to grass fed. Now, things like pork and bacon. I really recommend if you're going to have bacon, which you definitely can, to source it very well, okay? Anything like a deli meat or bacon, that kind of stuff, or ham, if you have ham, I'm not big on that, but if you have those things, you want to make sure that you are getting the cleanest product possible because they can be full of nitrates, they can have lots of smoke flavorings and things like that. Some of them even have sugar, like hams and so on. So just be aware, right? I'm fortunate enough to live in a community where I have the most fantastic health food store on the planet, and they have an entire deli counter of homemade roasts that they actually cut. So they're like literally pieces of meat. They're not actually deli meats, but then they also have different levels of healthy deli meats, and that's Nature's Emporium. If you live in my local area, you probably already know that. Same thing when I say to you, beef jerky's a great high protein snack. I don't mean hot rods from the, local corner station, gas station. I mean well-sourced, ideally grass-fed beef jerky. So a lot of people will either make that with their dehydrator. I'm not one of those people. I have a dehydrator. I haven't pulled it out for years. But you can get ones from Beretta and McLean Meats in Canada. Okay, so you can source those because if you can find nice, clean supplies, that's a great snack and it's really good for keeping your blood sugar nice and stable. So I want you to look at all those inclusions that are on page 22 to 24. That's kind of like your guide in terms of those are all the things that you can eat plentifully, and I try and break it down into everything from spices to vegetables to meat products to beverages and so on, okay? So you want to become incredibly familiar with that. So what is your target? Because if anything, you can be counting anything when you are trying to eat in a healthy way. Carbs, chemicals, fat, sugar, protein, you name it. This is what I want you to focus on in this program. I want you to focus on sugar, okay? And the reason I say sugar is when you start to get your sugar levels under control and you get them into a range that's super beneficial to the physiology of your body, so many of the things that are actually issues with people go to the wayside. You focus on sugar, a lot of the rest of it takes care of itself. That's the first thing. That's what I want you to focus on, okay? Focus on sugar content, especially this week. Not every product has to be perfect, but just be aware of the sugar content. And if you're trying to achieve anything, achieve the number of grams or less per day. So for adults, the recommendation is 40 grams of sugar in total per day or less. Now, at first that might seem like that's not very much because a lot of people consume 90, 100, 120 a day. However, always within 6 or 7 days, people are like, I'm only eating 15 grams of sugar a day. I didn't know this was going to be so easy. So, I mean, that's kind of the process, right? When you start to eat whole foods, you'll find there's not a lot of sugars. You count sugar grams in everything for this program, except the ones that are naturally occurring in your vegetables, okay? There are some sugars. We're not having corn. We're not having potatoes. So the rest of them, don't worry about it. So that's your goal. Now, just so that you are not left with half information, teenagers should be at 30 grams of sugar or less a day. And children that are younger, that of course would be some derivation thereof, somewhere around 25 to 20, and depending on their age. Okay, so that's the recommendation. That's how you count it. Now, counting, if there is anything, like really anything, that can become burdensome for people initially, it's that every single time that you want to consume something, you have to pick it up and look at it and read it and this so on. I get it. It is so much focus at the beginning, and it just feels a little bit like a grind. Like you're just like, where's the joy of eating? All of a sudden now I'm like picking up this and picking up that. And I would say that that is the journey in this program, from going to, from a level of almost like at the beginning, you have to be so conscious to be competent in this program, right? It's that development of conscious competence. And over the course of the 40 days, here's the positive part of the journey. You go from being, you know, consciously competent to somewhere in the neighborhood of unconsciously competent. In other words, what was once taking a lot of your energy and time and focus starts to become a habit and a ritual, and you just start to know. So you don't have to really count everything. Now, I'm still that person that walks through the grocery store and often picks up things and takes a look. But it's easy for me to discern now. Now, that's not probably you at the beginning, but you will get there over time. And I would say the easiest way to think of that is almost like when you were learning how to drive a car. Do you remember back? I do, because my kids are 16 and 17, and I can actually visually see how much they are focusing on actual driving. They've got their hand on 10 and 2, hopefully, and they have the radio off and no one's really talking to them, and they are just literally focused on getting from point A to point B. And that's what you need to do when you learn to drive. Once you've been driving for a while, what happens? You start chatting, you turn on the radio, you start thinking about other things. You know, it just happens. Why? Because it's second nature to you. And so when you're in this program, have a tendency, I've noticed, to be a little bit hard on yourself, like thinking like, oh, I should know this, or oh, this. Listen, the way we eat is so ingrained in us. I mean, a lot of times the way we eat has been really kind of unconsciously entrained to us from years and years and years ago. I mean, we pick up a lot of habits of, you know, our parents and our families and things that we really frankly got into routine with. So for you in this program now, this might be such a huge deviation from where you've been in the past. And all I'm wanting you to do is just be aware that this is new for you. Prepping food might not be new. It might be, but it might not be new for you. Grocery shopping, I'm sure that's not new for you. Making dinner every night, that might not be new for you either. But doing it this way, this is new for you. So just, can you give yourself a little bit of latitude and just some kindness to yourself and not get so hard on yourself? And I promise you, the things that are taking so much time now will become second nature. And I'm sure there are a number of repeat detoxers who are in the audience who are like, yeah, that's true. And maybe you can talk about that a little bit when you're on the detox page. All right, so I want you to feel clear on how do you know how much sugar is in things. So obviously, well, maybe not obviously, so let me just say that every food item that comes in a package in Canada, North America, has a nutrition fact label. You will always find it on the side, whoops, and it looks like this. Now, there is actually one in your detox guide, and I want to show you how to accurately read that. And every time I do this, people go, I know how to read a nutrition fact label, but here's the thing that sometimes gets missed. So there's only two things that I need you to overly focus on when you're looking at a fact label. And one is the serving size, which is always just listed right under the word nutrition facts. And the second is under carbohydrates, they will list out sugar grams, okay? So this one, the serving size is 1 container. Typically, that's not the serving size. Typically, the serving size will be some portion of whatever the package or container is. But whatever the serving size is, whatever they list as sugar grams is how much is in that serving size, right? So in this case, 17 grams in 1 container. Now, if that was 17 grams in half a container and you ate the full container, just remember that you have to double this number of grams of sugar, okay? So in other words, the amount of sugar that's in here is proportional to whatever the serving size is. You need to be uber aware of how much of that serving size did you actually consume. Did you consume as much as the serving size, which means that it would be the exact grams? Did you consume more, which means you need to factor that in, or did you consume less? Okay, I know that seems super straightforward, but this is one of the places that if you are trying to become consciously aware of how much you're consuming and you don't quite have that nailed down, then your numbers are going to be off and you're not going to get the results you're looking for. So if there's any confusion around that, I want you to reach out to me, go on the Facebook page, take a look at the guide. I can also point you to some webinars that I've done in the past where I've dove into some of these things a little bit more. Okay, got it? I noticed the protein powders. I've never used them. Do I need to use them on the diet? Oh my goodness. You do not have to use them on the sugar detox. I actually don't use a ton of actual protein powders myself. I will give you, Carrie, some recommendations for the ones that I like, but I'll also give you some recommendations of things you can sub into some of the recipes. Okay, so I'll address that after. Thank you for that question. All right, so what are the things that I want you to be particularly aware of, like especially this week as we're getting going? Number one thing would be particularly aware of the things that you drink. And the reason I say that is 85% of all sugar calories come from our beverages. So if all you did this week, and I'm serious when I say this, if all you did was become incredibly aware and conscious to the amount of sugar grams in the beverages that you have and start to switch them out into low sugar, no sugar beverages, that would dramatically drop your sugar intake. I'm talking that's a starting point. But just so you're aware, that's where you want to be aware of. So whether you're talking about unsweetened or sweetened fruit juices, that would be the thing I would tell you right now across the board. Just take those right out of your lifestyle. Because you're going to be no dairy or very, very select flexible dairy. If that's the case, there's lots of sugar in that, so you're not going to have that. Now, I actually probably have the only detox on the planet where I'm like, have some coffee. So I'm not encouraging you to have coffee. I've had that question. Coffee across the board is not a health food. However, there is room in this lifestyle, especially when you adopt a clean eating, low sugar lifestyle for good, for you to have some level of coffee if it doesn't overly affect your system in any way. And if that's the case, then I would say absolutely. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you drink your coffee with sugar, but again, it comes down to sugar load, right? It's the total number of sugar grams that you're having in an entire day that really matter. So yeah, I mean, technically you could have it, but I've given you lots of recommendations in the guide as to other ways that you can have your coffee and still enjoy it and not feel like you're having to put sugar in it. And I will tell you, as your numbers start to come down to 40 grams or less, you're going to find things awfully sweet and you're probably not going to enjoy it anyways. I'm going to apologize in advance for you if you love double doubles, but also be aware that there's a lot more than 2 sugars and 2 creams in Tim Hortons Double Double for all my Canadian detoxers. So be aware of that, okay? So have a really, really open eyes when it comes to the drinks that you're having, because that's where a lot of the hidden sugar is, okay? There's coffee drinks and so on there. There's also elixirs, which I'll talk about on another webinar that I do, because they can be the key to your success, and they are delicious and yummy and fantastic at stabilizing your blood sugar. So I will talk about that. The second place to be particularly aware of, where there can be a lot of hidden sugar, are your condiments. So ketchup, pure sugar, barbecue sauce, same. A lot of your bought salad dressings have a ton of sugar in them. One of the ways that you can really make a really big clean switch is just to make a container of salad dressing. There's a few of our favorite recipes in here. and it'll last all week or even longer. And then right then and there, you know how to control the amount of sugar that you're getting in your salad dressings, okay? I use salad dressings, of course, for salads. I also use salad dressings to sometimes sprinkle on top of roasted vegetables and meat and different things like that. So you can be a little bit creative with it. Anything that's on the door of your fridge, be aware of that, okay? This program is also a no alcohol program. And I've had people ask me about dry farming wine and things like that. Here's my take on this. Give yourself the gift of going no alcohol for 30 days at least. Okay, there's two reasons why I say that. One is typically alcohol is full of sugar. The other thing is that alcohol lowers our resistance to eating the way that we want to eat. I don't know about you, but if I've had a couple drinks, I am much more prone to find my head in a bag of potato chips than if I don't have alcohol. Okay, I'm just saying. So I really think that it is such a gift to yourself if you remove alcohol for 30 days. And let's be candid on this. It is such a good, well, first of all, not everybody consumes alcohol. So I'm speaking to the people who might consume alcohol now and again. It is such a gift to your body to physiologically remove alcohol for a period of time. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. At day 30-ish, we're gonna start to talk about things like alcohol, and I will give you my take on, you know, where people go wrong when it comes to high sugar amounts in alcohol and what would be my recommendations if you're gonna consume it, okay? Also, no artificial sugars. In a word, toxic. And I mean toxic. Everything from aspartame to saccharin to you name it, those are chemicals, those are not foods. Your body does not know how to break them down, and when it tries to break them down, the byproducts of the breakdown are completely toxic to your body. I don't know any other way to say it. I think it's just the bottom line. They are very addictive and they make you crave sugar. So it is such a manipulation on the physiology of your body. I recommend in no way, shape, or form should you ever have artificial sugar in your diet, and I don't recommend it. You can have stevia. Stevia is actually an herb. It's not an artificial sugar. It's incredibly sweet, 200 times sweeter than sugar. You can get it in liquid and powdered form. I looked for it. I don't use stevia, but I have some in the house for the detox. I couldn't find it. But you can get small packets of it. Some people don't like the aftertaste, but it is healthy. It's safe rather for you, and you can add it. So I think I would have both kinds if I were somebody who was using stevia, because the liquid can be nice sometimes over the powder or whatnot, but it's not an issue. Also, like I said, there is room for low sugar amounts in this program. And so I would recommend natural-based sugars, like everything from raw unpasteurized honey, and also maple syrup is also a nice one. Okay, so those are some options for you. All right, I'm gonna get into, and I'm trying not to go too long tonight, and I actually don't have that much more time. So the last two things I'm going to do are some quick start strategies, and I also want to talk to you about how to stabilize your blood sugar right from the beginning so that you do not have to endure sugar withdrawals. Now, sugar withdrawals and sugar cravings are no joke. Sugar addiction is a real thing, and when people start to come off of sugar, especially if you had high level sugars amounts, it can cause everything from like headaches to nausea to dizziness to stomach upset, certainly moodiness, aches and pains, fatigue, the shakes. Some people feel like they're getting the flu. Like, I'm not kidding, it's serious. Most people, when they're doing the detox, they take what I'm saying right now to heart, and they don't have big issues with the up and down of their blood sugar. But some people do. And so if that's you and you're doing a lot of these strategies and you don't feel like it's managing it, first of all, I want to tell you two things. One is reach out to me. Two is it does go away. Okay? So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It won't go on forever. But these are the ways that you will help stabilize it. One is do not caloric restrict during at least the first 10 days of the program. Please, please, please do not make this a diet, okay? It is a way of eating that becomes a lifestyle. It's not a diet. In other words, you're not trying to reduce your caloric intake. I know there are lots of people in this program who would love for themselves to lose weight perhaps during this program. And I will tell you, pretty much everybody does to some degree, some to a large degree. So it's gonna happen, but please, you do not need to be hungry during this program. There is no reason to be. We are not measuring things, we're counting sugar grams, okay? So we're gonna have to maybe make a little switch when it comes to how we feel about fat and things like that. Do not caloric restrict, especially in the first 10 days. You will hate me and you might also hate yourself, okay? Because that will bring on the sugar withdrawals. The ways to get around it. Hydration is super key and important always, but especially during the first 10 days. Water is always my first pick. You can do herbal teas. I have a whole bunch of drinks in the page 22 through 24 that you can have. There's elixirs, there's different smoothies. There's all sorts of ways that you can drink. Now, water, 2 to 3 liters a day is generally recommended for most people. I love to infuse my waters. So I don't know if you can see this very well, but this is actually just a few frozen strawberries and a few slices of lemon. I use mason jars all the time. I love drinking water that is in glass because, first of all, I think that it doesn't impart any nasty tastes and you don't get any awful chemicals. And it's just great. And when you have acidic things like lemon and so on in your water and you're drinking out of plastic, it's not such a great combination, okay? So mason jars are fantastic. You can also use stainless steel. You can use what you want, but I'm just saying those are great containers to use. It is not uncommon for me to take 3 mason jars in the morning and just take 5 minutes to throw some mint in one or some cucumber and lemon in the other or some frozen strawberries in the third and just allow them to infuse in the water all day long. And then my motivation is by the time I go to bed at night, I want to make sure that I've drinking 2 to 3 of these, okay? So that just helps. If I have to walk over to the cooler every day and just count how many glasses of water I'm having, chances are I'll never get there. But if I get a container that's large enough, I have a goal, and that container helps me keep on track, then I'm going to do it. Things like elixirs that have fat and protein will help manage your blood sugar. That's really the key to preventing withdrawal and having sugar addiction, is to make sure your blood sugar is like this. Okay, that's why when we have too much sugar, it's a problem. Because when we have too much sugar, our pancreas secretes insulin, so our blood sugar goes up, the insulin gets secreted, our blood sugar drops down, and we go from up here to down here, and then we crave again, and we're hangry, and we're not very nice. So keeping our blood sugar like this goes a long way. You can make tea lattes, cashew milk. You can use essential oils like peppermint, which will actually help with sugar withdrawals. Kombucha is something else I recommend. We talked about this briefly on the page today. You do need to be aware of the number of sugar grams that's in kombucha. These are a couple of my favorite brands. There's GT's and there's the Brew Doctor. Both of these I actually can get at Costco. I found the Ginger Aid one has 12 grams in the whole bottle. Oh, yeah, 12 grams in the whole bottle. So there's 4 grams is 1 teaspoon. So you'd say 12 grams, that's a ton. Well, first of all, I would never drink the whole bottle. And second of all, I would drink half the bottle and I always dilute my kombucha with water. So that's just me. So there are some very high sugar kombuchas and there's some lower sugar kombuchas. But kombuchas are great. They're healthy for your gut biosis and people like them because they're slightly carbonated. So all I'm saying with these is it's very much part of a low sugar lifestyle. The Brew Doctor has some high and low sugar ones as well. You can take a look at them and you can decide if you like them yourself, and that can certainly be part of it. And it's kind of fun because for people who are used to drinking things like soda and pop, because it has a carbonation factor to it, it tastes better, okay? Eat more healthy fat. That is so key, and I will talk more about this in one of my upcoming webinars. Fat is so incredibly important in your body, okay? First of all, it tastes delicious. Healthy fat is very nourishing for your brain, for your body. It creates hormones. It's good for your skin. It's great for digestion. It's just so incredibly important. And I have all sorts of kinds that I recommend. I list them all in the Detox Guide. Everything from coconut oil to avocado oil. This one you can get at Costco. Extra virgin olive oil. This one I actually brought back from Europe. But you can get a good one also at Costco. I do not heat my extra virgin olive oils. And then of course, fats like pumpkin seed oil and ghee, and if you tolerate it, grass-fed butter, all of those fats, avocado in general, so absolutely nourishing for you, taste delicious, and also are really good at keeping your blood sugar stable. So I highly recommend them. You'll also, of course, find them in raw nuts and seeds and so on, so you can get them there as well. Okay? Focus on more protein. So as much as you want to focus on healthy fats, you want to focus on healthy protein. So consistent amounts of small amounts of protein are really, really important in stabilizing your blood sugar and warding off withdrawals. So whether it's a little bit of healthy deli meat or a little bit of a leftover of some sort of protein you had at another meal, leftover like grilled fish or roasted chicken or anything, Yoso, Y-O-S-O, has some unsweetened yogurt made out of coconut or almond, which is actually delicious, I think. And you can pair that together with grainless granola. Hard-boiled eggs, healthier values of jerky, goat or sheep cheese, all of those are protein sourced. So that protein, having a little bit of that on an ongoing basis is really, really good for stabilizing blood sugars. If you're having issues with cravings and you're having withdrawal, so you're gonna hydrate, you can also have an Epsom salt bath that'll help just flush things through your system. You can increase your amounts of chromium and magnesium and also increase your minerals. You'll get that from your vegetables and so on, or you could have broth, beef broth or chicken broth, anything like that is gonna help. And also get enough rest. Honestly, your body works through things when it has the ability to heal itself and assimilate things. And that mostly happens when we slow ourselves down. So even getting to bed by 10:15 or 10:30 at night at a maximum will go a long way in allowing your body to smooth out these edges at the beginning of the program. Okay, so those are my top recommendations. Don't caloric restrict, make sure you're hydrating enough, have healthy fat and consistent small amounts of protein. That'll go a long way. The olive oils, pure virgin oils, the olive companies, pure virgin oils may be heated up to 450 to 500 degrees. Oh, Tracy, I didn't know that. So my experience has been that olive oil can only handle up to medium heat. The reason why I have in the past, she just found this out yesterday. Okay, I'm gonna take a look at that and I'll post it on our Facebook page. Thank you, Tracy. I will give you the recommendations of all the oils, but just across the board in general, maybe not this company, but it tends to only tolerate up to medium heat. And if you heat an oil past its smoke factor, it goes from being a healthy oil to a rancid and unhealthy oil, and that's what you want to make sure you don't have. So it's good to stay within the parameters of how much heat that an oil can tolerate, otherwise you're not getting the benefit of it. All right, so that's an important part of it. And then you're not, of course, feeling the way you should. Okay, quick start strategies, and I'm gonna wrap this up in the next few minutes. If you are new to the detox and you're not sure where to start, this is what I want you to do. I just want you to focus on one meal a day for the next few days, okay? I just want you to nail one meal. And by nailing, I mean plan it in advance so you know what you're gonna eat before you get to the meal. Make sure that you have the appropriate foods in the house for whatever it is that you're planning, and that you make enough so that you also have a little bit of a leftover, okay? And that's what I want you to focus on. And for the rest of the day or around those meals in that day, even if nothing about that is low sugar, I just want you to track those sugar grams, just so at the same time you can be giving yourself an education process. And once you get to, you know, today's Wednesday, for a lot of people, we kind of limp through Wednesday, Thursday. And on Friday, that can be a day where you kind of sit down and you, by then, you will have prioritized going through this manual and detox guide. And so you can really look through this and start to meal plan for next week, okay? So this is what I would recommend for you. Get through the next couple of days, get really familiar with the actual reference material. Then by Friday, start to make a plan for next week. Make sure that you get some grocery shopping in so that you have all the ingredients that you require, obviously fairly important. And then you want to do a little bit of bulk cooking and pre-prep for the week. So I don't like to do that all in the same day. In other words, if on a Sunday I wake up in the morning and I meal plan, and then I grocery shop, and then I cook for a couple hours. That feels like I just worked for 7 hours. You can do it that way, but I wouldn't recommend it. That might seem overwhelming to you. So just sort of piece it out. And I do take a couple of hours for myself, typically on a Sunday, to set myself up for the week, so that each meal that you have is not like you're starting from scratch. The starting from scratch thing is the thing that just wears you down. And so what you'll find is bulk cooking and leftovers are key to this program. More detail will come in this, more strategies will come with this, but start thinking along these lines. You know, if I can barbecue 2 chicken breasts, why can't I barbecue 6 chicken breasts? If I can roast 1 whatever chicken, can I not roast 2 chicken? You know, if after I've done the chicken, I throw the carcass in the Instant Pot or the slow cooker to make broth, because the next day I'm gonna make soup. Like, if you just start thinking about your meals, one meal rolling into the next. If I'm gonna make a whole tray of roasting vegetables, let's make 2 trays of roasting vegetables. And as I'm cutting up those vegetables for the tray that I'm going to go ahead and be roasting in the oven, can I not also be cutting up some of those vegetables to go in a big giant dry salad? And by dry salad, I mean, I like to make bare bones dry salad on a Sunday, so that together with a big jar of some sort of dressing, so that when I want to eat some salad, I pre-portion how much I think I'm going to eat or my family's going to eat into another bowl, and I quickly dress that one so that the dry salad stays fresh, okay? We'll talk a lot more about that, but just want to really give you some quick start strategies when it comes to bulk cooking and leftovers and so on. I think it would be really important, and certainly key for me, is when I was thinking about, you know, really getting granular about, for myself, having a very, very low sugar lifestyle, I really started to become, and I'm looking around my kitchen as I say it, really conscious as to what I have in my kitchen. And I found that it was really important for me to literally, at least in the beginning stages, to get as many of the offenders, and I say offenders, the things that I didn't want to consume, out of my kitchen. So I literally walked into my kitchen with a Rubbermaid, and I started putting pastas and rice and this and that. Uh-oh, are you guys still there? Oh, you are. Are you still on? I'm back. I don't really know what happened there. I think maybe she set this for a 1-hour meeting. What was I even saying? Are you guys offended by what I was talking about? I know it just cut out. You went away. I'm sure my face looked blank. I know what I was talking about, though. I was talking about the Rubbermaid. Okay, just so don't get uptight, I'm gonna be off soon, and you can go on with your evening, because I too have to get up tomorrow. Okay, so grab a Rubbermaid, go around your kitchen, throw everything that you don't want to be consuming in there and get it out. Motivation is definitely a depletable resource. So if you can't get it out of your mind, you can at least get it out of your sight. So that's what I would say, is just try and help yourself out and know who you are. If you know that there's something that you're just not good with, that you always go back to, and you know, it's like, for me, it's toast, right? Toast is like the gateway drug for me. So for me, I just don't buy it. I don't have it around. And when I don't have it around, then I don't consume it. So just, I would say, do yourself a favor and help yourself out by removing a lot of the things that you don't want to be consuming. And what those things are is completely up to you, okay? So remove the things, be very big on snacks. Treat yourself like a toddler, and every time you leave the house, you want to leave with hydration and a few things that you can consume. Okay, there's quite a few snacks, but suffice to say, snack is just a small portion of anything. So if you have some leftovers, just take a small portion, or make yourself a small smoothie, or have a little bit of trail mix, some raw nuts and seeds, or have a hard-boiled egg or some cut up vegetables. One of my favorite things that I've been buying for my kids lately, have been these Kirkland small hummuses and mini guacamoles. They're fantastic. Can I make hummus and guacamole at home? Yeah, and I do. But the point is, that just makes it really easy for them to leave the house with those to consume. So those are one of the things that I'm going to put on the Costco sheet that I'm going to be talking about this week. You'll be getting that. I'm also going to go through all the protein powders and whatnot. But the main thing is when your blood sugar goes low, you want to have some solution for yourself. So in this first week, throughout the whole program, but for this first week, make sure that you also have enough snacks with you, okay? And lastly, is this lastly? Yes, it is. I'm going to tell you about what you can expect for the rest of the week, but I also want you to spend a couple minutes and be clear on what your intended outcome is in this program. I don't want to assume that what I want for you in this program is really what your goal is in this program. And I put together the sugar detox guide because I think that if you're able to follow the majority of the principles in here, you are going to have a massive change in your level of health and vitality. I think you're going to learn a lot. I think you're going to feel like you have a level of positive control about the way that you nourish yourself, and hopefully you can change your relationship with food. Right? For a lot of us, food has not given us positive results. It hasn't given us, well, first of all, we struggle with it. We don't know how much to eat. We overeat, and then we're unhappy about how much we ate. We're not happy with the way we fuel ourselves. We're not happy with the way we feed our families. The list goes on and on. But the point is, I want you to be able to come out the other side and feel good about how you're nourishing yourself and have a more positive relationship with food and have strategies and things that are going to stick for you when you travel and you eat out and you entertain and life is busy and all these things that really life is. But what I want for you is to get really clear for yourself what it is that you really want as an outcome in this program, whatever it is, to any amount, to any degree, because there's going to be moments and times when this program might feel like work for you, is going to feel like work for you. And if you can tap back into the reason you signed up in the first place, it's going to help you stay the course, okay? If you are not planning on being on the Facebook page, I lovingly ask you to reconsider it. You do not have to be super active, but being on there to any degree, I think, is net positive. You can private message me, but if you're comfortable messaging on the page, I think it's helpful because it will allow people to connect up with the information and the questions that you have. If you're wondering it, someone else is wondering it. If you're challenged by it, someone else is challenged by it. And when we tap in and we give you encouragement or we give you suggestions or we celebrate your wins, everybody else gets the momentum from that as well, okay? So I guarantee you are not alone in this program. In the next coming weeks, this is kind of the routine. Every week in advance, we'll tell you when this week's webinar is. It may not be every week, but it probably will be. It really depends on what's been going on. And it will change from day to day, but I always put them on during a weekday, okay? This just has to do with my schedule. And whenever I put it on the same day every week, someone would always say, I hate that, I'm never available on Wednesday nights. So this way it's an equal opportunity, okay? You'll always get the replays. They'll be emailed to you. Typically, the emails come out Tuesdays and Saturdays. And in there, you'll get the replays. There'll be education. There'll be extra recipes, typically an animal protein-based one, but also a vegetarian. There's some pre-recorded videos, some with guest experts that you'll find in there. This weekend, I think I'm going to move the Saturday email up to Friday because I want to give you some information about sourcing, food, and so on, and you may want to have that for your Saturday, so I'm going to try and send it out early. Okay, so here we are. Tracy, you love this program already, feeling much less overwhelmed. I'm so glad. Okay, so give yourself a break and give yourself lots of love and reach around and pat yourself on the back because I am definitely rooting for you and I'm proud of you as much as it's not about me, because you at least said yes to this. And the whole point of this program is to learn as much as you can, integrate as much as you can that fits you and your lifestyle, and hopefully come out the other side cultivating what you want your low sugar lifestyle to look like. Please reach out to me. I'm gonna hop on over to the Facebook page and scroll through the comments here, and you'll be getting an email on Friday, Saturday at the latest, and we'll go from there. All right, have a great night, everybody, and we will talk to you on the Facebook page.